What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Control the Narrative. Back to back happy weeks. I think that's 3 happy weeks in a row. Our boy Carmelo Anthony just won the Western Conference Player of the Week less than 2 weeks after signing a deal with the Portland Trail Blazers. So, crazy-ass episode, fucking unbelievable, just time we're living in. I brought on my guy, Raby Hardaway. I pronounced that right?
Yep, yes, sir.
All right, so what's going on, Raby? How you doing tonight, bro?
I'm good, man. Just finished work, so just chilling right now.
Let's go, bro. So, you know, Raby has been a big Melo fan on Instagram. We got like a bunch of people on Twitter, but we also have an Instagram following. So, you know, he's been pretty vocal on there. So, Raby, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of how you grew up, like, in terms of liking basketball, who you started liking, was it like a player or a team, and just like the background of your NBA fanhood?
Honestly, I didn't grow up like in the rich area or anything like that. So, I grew up mainly with a single mother. I had a younger brother with me. I always knew my dad, but he wasn't around for too much of my life. So when it came down to basketball, I think it was really like something where it became, like that escape in a sense. But
Yep.
I used to play outside in the backyard, or actually in the back of my apartment complex with my cousin. And I mean, we were dunking and shooting and doing all this stuff. And I just, over time, I was obviously watching basketball. And honestly, I grew up watching Tracy McGrady the most, and he attracted me the most to basketball. He was just awesome.
He's a baller.
And then when Kobe came, it was just like, oh crap, like it's just some of T-Mac, but then this is like something on a different level. And I know everybody used to talk about Michael, and I'm like, Michael cool, but I'm like, there's just something about Kobe, like mentality, like just everything that he did on the court. So with him, he just like, he kind of, I call him my dad, honestly, to be honest.
Kobe?
Yeah, because my nickname is Red Mamba, so I call him, secretly like he's my dad. He don't know about it yet. I'm like his only son right now, especially. So he really I just really started taking after him, watching all his footwork and just doing everything that he was doing. And I just grew up doing a lot of his moves. And that's really how I started getting into basketball. And it's always, been a love of mine ever since. So, yeah.
Word, so you obviously love Carmelo Anthony as well. So how'd you start liking him?
Yeah, so when Melo showed up, so I remember when LeBron got to the league too, they had this interview where it was like LeBron and Melo.
Yeah.
And I was watching Melo when he was at Syracuse, but I've always been a Duke fan. So it's kind of like, you don't want to always like certain players on a different college team. But at the same time, you know certain guys, you're like, dang, like, he's pretty good. So when he had that interview, I was like, okay, they're comparing them, they're putting them side by side. So he really must be, a force to be reckoned with. So when he got to the league, like, he is Melo. Like he doesn't look like anybody. He doesn't play like anybody.
Right.
And then when Jordan signed him, it was just like, he's like legit the real deal. And so just ever since then, like everything that he had from Syracuse all the way to the league, like I've just always loved his style of play. But he made it like so much more simple as a 6'8" player. He just made it simple, and his footwork was just stupid. Like nobody has his footwork when it comes down to like his jump shot and the way he jab steps and just has his crossover, bro. It's like nobody has it. I've watched so many YouTube highlights because just to be honest, I didn't have a trainer growing up, so my mom couldn't afford a lot of trainers, and I didn't really know about the whole AAU program stuff, so I didn't really get as much exposure. So what I did was I watched YouTube like detail by detail over and over and over again. I probably one night watched I'll say 2 or 3 hours of just Melo highlights, just back to back. I didn't realize it was 3 hours, but just paying attention to his footwork and all that, I'm just like, I just kept falling in love with him more and more and more. And then with the Team USA stuff, it just blew my mind. Like a lot of people don't realize he was actually shooting with his left hand. He had like a couple left hand 3-pointers, if I'm not mistaken. People don't believe that, but
in the Olympics?
Yes, in the Olympics. I forgot which one. I know it's like, I think it was the first one he went to or maybe the second one, but him and Kobe were the only ones to shoot left-hand three-pointers in the corner. Like I if I can find that highlight, I'm gonna send it to you. But
Yeah.
honestly, now I'm like, all right, man, this is a go. And yeah, I just truly just love how he plays, and I always thought he could be better than LeBron. You know, a lot of people won't agree with that, but anytime they matched up, Melo would always get that advantage. Like there
Always.
was no way LeBron was going to guard him at all, and he loved those matchups. And him and D Wade, like him and Kobe. So
He
yeah,
would
it's always
always
been a
rise
fan.
to the occasion.
Huh?
He would always rise to the occasion.
Yeah, every single time. Like his mind frame was on a different level because he knew who he was going to play. You know, he knew just going out like nobody was really going to guard him. But especially like in the playoffs when he played against Kobe, like that was like the one time he was legit. Like just you can see that's where his passion level. Like that's where his top like passion was. So I really feel like if he would have just put that into every single game, I think he would be probably like top 3 scorer. I don't know.
So we talked a little bit about kind of his past and the Denver days and the USA Olympics and all that shit. Now he's in Portland and he just won the Western Conference Player of the Week. So what are your thoughts on how Carmelo Anthony is playing right now as a 35-year-old?
I think he's playing exactly how he's gonna play for the rest of his career. You know, he especially if you watch all the summer highlights, like he's killing everybody. No one's still guarding him. You know, obviously when the Hoodie Melo started, that was when everyone was like, man, like he shoots like this and he scores like this. I'm like, he's been doing that. Like he's just,
Exactly.
you know, the highlights will show you all the makes and you know just all the good stuff about what he's doing. But when he's playing against guys and he's just really like feeling himself, you know, and actually enjoying the game, you know, he's really gonna produce. So I think right now, through all that adversity that he experienced, you know, and just being able to still try to be on a positive note, you know, positive mind frame through all of that, and not really knowing if he was going to play again. I think he's really truly enjoying the game right now, and it's a different mind frame when you go to a team that doesn't have a bunch of superstars and that actually needs you. As a hooper, I think a lot of hoopers understand that. You know, like to be wanted and to know like, okay, I think I'm like the best guy here. Like that's a big confidence boost. So I think it's like the perfect situation. Honestly, I didn't expect it, but for him to win that Western Conference Player, like that's big, you know. But I think for him, it's not something he's gonna sit there and like, you know, throw it out and be like,
Right.
yeah, you see.
Right.
He's just gonna let his game do the talking. He's gonna let his accolades do the talking. And you know, people still in the comments still got something to say. You know, I read.
Always.
Yeah, you know, I'm like, why you still got something? Like people are just terrible. Like people are terrible.
It's like, oh,
I'm like, what
Harden
do
should
you-
have won it. It's like,
Yeah, I'm like, what do you like? So, for example, one of my buddies, Mark, he loves James Harden, and he's a Rockets fan. So I don't have nothing against James Harden, but he just scored like 60 in 3 quarters or something like that, and then everybody wanted him to stay in for that fourth quarter, and so you know I'm obviously a Kobe fan too. I'm like, nah, he's not gonna touch that 81 point.
you were like,
Nah,
Frank,
so,
like, yo,
you know,
please sit him down. Do not let him back in the game.
you know, but I'm like. I sent him the post. I said Devin Booker scored 70. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you can score. But at the end of the day, like, you know, is your team still going to win? Is your team still going to get past a certain point in the playoffs? Like,
Right.
all that season stuff is cool. But I think Melo, like, for what he's doing right now, like, they're number 11 on the standings. They can actually get to the playoffs.
I think they're like a
And
game out
actually-
as of right now.
Yeah, I mean they could do something. Like it's not that many teams in front of them where they can't, you know, get that number 8 spot. I mean, you got Minnesota Timberwolves right now at the 8 spot. I mean, they're not that great,
Yeah,
you know. So Blazers get it together. Like if they make a splash in the playoffs, that would be so dope. Like that would be super
Imagine.
cool.
And yeah, yo, to your point, like what you were saying, like staying ready and shit like that.
hmm
Just the fact that this dude had no idea if he was ever gonna play basketball for an entire year in the NBA
Yeah.
ever again. And day in and day out, this dude, like he said, sometimes there's a struggle. Of course, man. If you know it's 4 months into free agency and you're still not signed, of course you're gonna be like,
Yeah.
fuck, like am I ever gonna get signed? But this dude, day in and day out, put in the fucking work, and like you see it. He wasn't on his couch, but like 2 weeks ago he wasn't on an NBA team, and then today he's the best player in the conference.
Yeah,
which
that
like
that's really big, bro. Like, I mean, I'm saying it from a hooper's perspective,
right.
like to keep that motivation going. I mean, granted he has money, so I mean, it's not like he was like super
Yeah,
depressed, But I mean, not everybody is motivated by the money. So
right.
I think just in general, for him to still be getting workouts with Brickley and still continuing to keep his body ready, like honestly, I don't know if I have money and he got his wife Lala and like his son, like I'd probably be on vacations like crazy. I'd be
Yeah,
in Greece and
tens of
but
millions of
it's a
dollars in your bank account, yo.
yeah, bro. Like I would be, I probably would get my workouts in, but it would be real tough to be like, okay, that's how they feel
Yeah,
about me. But it's a different mentality. Like I think he knows he's one of the greatest of all time as far as scoring wise. Like no one, like you have to have that conversation when you talk about that. It's Carmelo Anthony. Like
right.
so, I think he wants to make sure his career goes out on a good note. And for fans like us, we want to for sure see it go on a good note. We don't want to see like that whole you know, like oh Melo couldn't get back in the league.
Yo,
That would suck. Cause then we trying to fight people after they start trash about Melo.
yo, I thought that honestly, like I said it on the last podcast or 2 weeks ago, bro. Like
Yeah,
I was starting to lose faith. Like I was starting to think, yo, this is really how like he's gonna go out. Like he's gonna
yeah,
get
bro.
blackballed from the team. 10 games in Houston where they scapegoated him, and like D'Antoni's gonna get his revenge. Like that's it. Like it
Yeah,
was starting to seep into my mind, and I was just like, fuck, man. Like yo, it made me depressed. I was like, this is fucking bullshit.
yeah. Cause I mean, okay, like I'll say one more comment for Kobe. Like he ended well, but I mean, for him not to go to the playoffs for so long,
Yeah,
it just that's always gonna be something that people always want to throw out there.
of
And
course.
then LeBron comes to the Lakers. At first, I really didn't like it. I'm like, dang, like people forget about Kobe, or they don't want to mention him and talk about how great he was. And when it comes down to LeBron, they never had that matchup. So it's tough to be like, okay, well, who was a better player? But they're two different classes.
Right.
So when it comes down to Melo, I mean, if it was gonna end like that, that would have sucked because then everybody would have been talking so much trash, and you couldn't say like, okay, he was the greatest, he was one of the greatest scorers of all
Exactly.
time, and then it was gonna be like, oh, well, see, look, he didn't play well here, or he didn't have this field goal percentage here.
Exactly.
I'm like, do you guys realize how many scorers in the league shoots terrible on day in and day out? But they end with like 20 something points, or they end with 30 something points. Everybody's like, oh, okay, that's cool.
James
But you
Harden.
playing fantasy, you already know dang well, like if it's a great player that is a great scorer, but they're not efficient, you don't have good fantasy points. But the people who don't play fantasy or they don't really look at that, they're like, oh yeah, 30 ball, 40 ball or 20 ball or whatever. I'm like,
Yep.
Melo can easily get that, like when you really think about it. So it would have just sucked, but I thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God he was the league.
Thank God. How much credit do you give the Portland Trailblazers and kind of this rebirth of Carmelo Anthony?
I think I'm not sure honestly because I don't really know exactly how true all the stuff was with the whole like owner saying like he may not ever play again. I don't really know because it's so much bogus
Yeah, yeah.
information out there now. So it could have been a possibility that teams didn't really want him at the moment because of the fact that the league is technically balanced now because of, I guess, Kawhi, the
Yep.
balancer.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of tough to just stick Carmelo Anthony in any spot, especially, you know, if you already have power forwards and you have a
Right.
small forward, So, I think the Trailblazers, literally because of what they're going through, and I didn't expect them to go through what they're going through, especially with the absence of Nurkic. I said his name right?
Nurkic, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So with the absence of him, I mean, it just opened up a big spot, and that's a good team. Especially they made some noise in
Yeah,
the
man.
playoffs last year. So I think it just for them, if you go look at the list of free agents, and you need some help, Carmelo is going to be the top guy that you're going to
Right.
pick. And they probably was just like, oh yeah, that's no question. Like, yes, we're going
Yeah.
to need him. And you think about it too, like Carmelo can play small forward, he can play power forward. If he really wants to, he can play center because he's still a big body. He's still
Yeah.
strong. He can still get rebounds, and he does his little thing where he like f out of here,
Get the fuck out of here. I got
Yeah, so I mean, he's gonna get the rebounds. He's gonna still do what he needs to do, and his mentality is still gonna be scoring. But he still wants to keep his job, you know. So
Right.
I think the Blazers just understood that in general, and he's still a professional. I don't care what nobody says. Like his mind frame, his work ethic has never changed. Like he's still a professional. So you're gonna hire a professional athlete.
He's
You
always
want
been.
Melo on the top of the list of the free agent. So I mean, thank them for what they did, but I think for sure, I mean, they knew what they were doing when you get Melo.
I like personally give them so much credit, and I've been talking to some people on Twitter. I like will always have a place in my heart for the Portland Trailblazers organization
Mm.
after doing this shit. Just like
Yeah,
giving him an opportunity, like you said. A bunch of shit happened, like Nurkic and Zach Collins was another big injury to them, but like, bro, like they didn't have to do this, and not only did they give him a roster spot, but they're starting him, they're letting him get involved in the offense in his way,
yeah,
not just saying, "Yo, stand at the fucking 3 point line and shoot it when we give you
exactly.
the ball." Like they are
Yeah, bro.
giving him the keys. They gave him his own fucking media day because he wasn't
Yeah,
on one in the beginning of the season. Like
yeah,
just,
that's the. You're right. You're right.
bro, so much. It's
Shout out
just
to
like
Damian
such a
Lillard
classy
too.
move and all that shit.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. Lillard was a big piece in that too, and I really like their coach too. Like he doesn't,
yo,
you don't see him like how Mike was doing it, like
yes,
shaking his head and slapping his forehead.
exactly.
He's letting Melo do what he's doing. He's not worried about it. He just wants to get the team going.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. That's big, big love.
You're in the trainer world and kind of making athletes better. How much credit do you give Chris Brickley for this Melo rebirth?
That's a great question because honestly, I didn't really know a lot about him, and sometimes when I watch his workouts, I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like it's good stuff, but I'm like, okay, all you're doing is shooting.
Yeah,
And like, but when you really look at the details, like they're getting a lot of repetitions in, but it's to each player's like specifics in like what they do. So
right.
I think a lot of trainers, especially like when they do group training and everything, like all these players are getting similar skills, and everybody can basically do what each other does, except I would say like that athleticism may come
Right.
into a different, a different range. But I mean, if you or like a little baby or whatever wanted to learn some skills, I could just put a whole program together and make sure they're learning everything that everyone is learning. But
Right.
with him, I'm seeing that he's more detailed. He's more personal with it. He's taking his time, and I would be doing that same thing too if I'm getting paid by, these pros. But it's
Yeah.
more than that. It seems like it's really relationship based, and that's what some of the best trainers. I feel like with my kids, I mean, with my kids and even adults or wherever I'm training, that relationship is super important. So, as an athlete, I think with Melo, when he gets into the gym with that guy and he's supporting him and he has all these followers too, that's big. When you go to a training session, that you're putting in work, but it's family too. It's some
Right.
type of family feeling. Um, and there's so many trainers out here, and for Melo to be comfortable with him and go day in and day out and do what the trainer is asking him to do, that's super important. Like that shows what type of trainer you are. So I think for whatever specializes in, like he's doing a great job. And he's not trying to change Melo's whole game up to say like, okay, well, coaches are telling you that you're not shooting at a high rate, at a high clip, and we need you to stand there, just like you said, like whenever he
Right.
was on OKC, stand there to make sure you make these threes when you catch the ball.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just do that. Like, nah, he's like, no, you Carmelo Anthony. We've seen
Yeah.
you do a bunch of step backs, post up moves, like, shoulder bump, separation, quick shot, like
Yep.
so he's comfortable with that, but he's making sure that he understands, okay, what are not my like what am I not efficient at? What am I doing wrong? If my is my body balanced? Am I shooting it off the wrong finger? At my elbow too high. There's so many things that trainers have to be able to look at when you train these kids or you train these adults and especially pros, because they've been doing so many things for so long that their muscle memory, you can't just change something right away. It may take
Right.
a little bit of a time. So I think he's doing great. I think it just, I mean, I'm pretty sure next summer they're probably gonna go crazy Because Melo, if let's just say if they don't make the playoffs, I mean it's bad, but at the same time that's great for him because he can just work out and
Right.
he might be 99% like field goal percentage next season.
Shooting fucking 9 of 11 from the field, like he's getting pretty close. So.
Bro, that's awesome.
Yo, yeah, like you were saying, I feel like you know this shit more than me, but I feel like when I watch a lot of Brickley's videos and shit, they're more customized to each player, and as opposed to just like, all right, cool, like dribble moves and like pull ups and shit. I remember last year before he was with the Rockets, before he started playing with the Rockets, and the Rockets signed him. They were focusing a lot on like spot up shooting and catch and shoot and like 3-pointers and things like that because they knew he was gonna do that, but at the same time they were still doing that like, you know, bump on the block and like shoulder separation, all that shit. So, bro, like mad credit to Chris Brickley. Besides that whole farewell tour shit, I feel like you know, he's been really helping Melo with all this shit.
Yeah, it's super important that he make sure he stick with him for sure.
Yeah. How far do you think this Portland team can go? We just talked about missing the playoffs and shit, but what do you kind of think is a realistic and a best case scenario for this Trailblazers team?
I think they can make that 8th spot, if not the 7th, because it may come down to the wire. I think it's like every year or every season, it's always like 3 or 4 teams trying to like battle it out at the last minute, like give it their all rather than have done it, you know, ahead of time. So I think with Damian Lillard and McCollum and just the coach, they're all experienced and to get into the playoffs and understanding like, you know, we can't wait to the last minute. So I think that's really what the grind is right now. You know, they're trying to get that win streak up. So they may lose a couple in a row here and there, but I think I really believe that the Blazers, you know, if they add a couple pieces or everybody starts, you know, chipping in well, and Hassan Whiteside, you know, really picks it up. He's kind of being a little bit lazy on offense, in my opinion. I have him on my fantasy squad. I'm like, damn, you should be getting 30 fantasy points every night, bro. And he was day to day at some point. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, how you get an ankle injury and all you're doing is rebounding and passing and dunking, you know? But I mean, you know, it happens. But I think they can make the 8th spot, if not the 7th. I really believe it. But I mean, the Western Conference is hella strong now.
Always.
So Utah is not looking that great anymore, so that's kind of something that they can kind of look at to say, okay, you know what, like just get the offense rolling. And I also think Damian Lillard, even if Melo is having, you know, a good season so far, he still need to be Damian Lillard.
Yeah,
like he still need to get his 40 to 50 points. You know, McCollum needs to step it up. Like they all need to just go hard because McCollum and Lillard, they were always talked about as one of the best, if not the best, I guess, maybe in the past couple of years or so. The best backcourt. So, I mean, why slow down, especially when teams are scoring, 150 now? Like
158. It's crazy.
Bro, like, that's insane. So, if it's not as much defense, but it's more like an offense, who has the best offense, y'all might as well go crazy, you know? So, I think they have a really good chance, and I hope so because that's just going to add to Melo's, you know, career stats.
You think their ceiling is like the 7th seed though?
I think they can get there because I mean it's only been 20 games in so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got an 82 game season.
That's
so,
what I'm saying. I think they could get a lot higher than that.
I think so, but I mean you got. So Minnesota's in number 8. I mean, okay, like the Suns are sleepers. I mean, they had a good little streak for a minute, but that's one team I'm kind of like, dang, they might actually get to the playoffs this year. So
yeah.
And then Utah usually gets in there. They're gonna get it together at some point. So I mean, it's really tough to get that 6th seed, but if they actually do, that's gonna be really good. But if I'm them, you know, I wouldn't want to play the Lakers if they stay at number 1, you know. But like, let's just say Blazers versus Nuggets. That's a great matchup.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Nice. I would love to see that. Melo he's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, dude. Imagine that shit.
Oh yeah, I think let's just say 6 to 8.
So you trained a bunch of players over I don't know how many years, but one question I have for you is, what kind of skills do you teach players? And what do you consider a skill in basketball? Like, when you look at a player and you think to yourself, wow, that player is skilled, why do you say that to yourself? What is it about that player that makes a player skilled?
So for me, I didn't as a basketball player, I didn't have the like that general route that a lot of people have, or let's just say like getting scouted in high school,
Yeah.
or just growing up when they're younger, like always being on teams and everything. So like I said, my mom is a single mother raising us, so it wasn't as much money to just pour out in different things.
Right.
So, I had to really go out there and try it on my own, just watching, and just trying it, watching and trying it, perfecting it. In high school, I played center, and I'm a guard, so that was just to my coach. He's like, well, you got bounce, so, you go get these rebounds, and, so I'm like, all right. But when I got to college, my first college, I was playing, you remember the lockout, right?
Yeah.
So during the lockout, so Paul George actually was going to Cal State Northridge during the lockout, and he wasn't starting at the time. So that's when Granger was starting, and so this man was putting in major work, and so I had to guard him a couple times. He had to guard
Really?
me, and they were like, "Bro, you're not a center anymore. You're a guard." So I say all that to say is when I look at skills, I go from the fundamentals and how great you can improve the fundamentals and make it your core, but then also add in the advanced stuff. So I'm not gonna sit there and teach even advanced players. I'm gonna make sure they have the fundamentals correct, so that way you can be a Kyrie Irving if you want to be that. You want to have dribble speed, great dribble speed. You want to have great moves like Kobe or something. You got to have the fundamentals first before you can know that. You got to know what your footwork is. You got to know how many steps you can take off a Euro step. You got to know all these things, because they'll look at James Harden and say, "Oh, that's not travel. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go in the gym and go do 3-step backs, and make sure that's not a travel." But you don't understand the whole point behind that. So I think when it comes down to skills, let's just say going back to Melo, I mean, he doesn't do so much fancy stuff. Like, he's never done fancy things, but the details matter in the skill work. Like just a simple bump and then getting that separation to a jump shot, and he's shooting over his head. Like, he's not shooting at his forehead. He's shooting over his head. I don't know how many times, if anybody has ever blocked Melo on a jump shot. Never
rare.
seen that. I think Paul Gasol was the only one who ever blocked him on a jump shot, if I'm not mistaken. And I think Paul Gasol was the only one who ever blocked Kevin Garnett. So that shows, about his length.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's just simple. Like, it's just, you want to make sure you have the simple fundamentals first, and then also add into the skill work to where you're being more advanced, but also add in that sports performance too. Like, you got to get faster, you got to get stronger. You already know that. But yeah, so that's just kind of like where I just look at it from. Fundamentals first, and then see what you can do with those fundamentals to beat that person, especially on offense, and then it also goes into being an overall player, defense, rebounding, all of that stuff. You can't do anything without the fundamentals. Even Hakeem Olajuwon had great fundamentals, and look how great he is.
Yeah.
all he did was he went into the gym and said he probably went to a opera or something, or he probably saw some ballet dancers and was looking at their footwork like, hey, bro, like, he's spinning on his toe and all that. Okay, I'm gonna go in the gym and turn and shoot and all that stuff. So, I'm telling you, like, it's that skill where that fundamentals first, and then you using your brain to think, what else can I do with this, is really what separates a lot of players. So Melo just turned fundamentals into professional, being a professional killer. Like,
Yep. The reason I ask you is because, like, when I see players like Giannis and guys like, who else is like a big guy who, like, I guess Whiteside to a way lesser extent, but to me, I don't feel like those guys have as much pure skill as a guy like Curry or as a guy like Melo. Giannis right now, he's a better basketball player than Melo. He's more unstoppable than Carmelo Anthony, but I don't feel like he's more skilled than Melo. Like, I feel Melo has so much more skill. Like, I feel if I said this argument on Twitter a little bit back, and I had a lot of people saying, like, yo, what the fuck you saying? And some people were like, yo, you're right on. But so when I see a guy like Giannis, I'm like, cool, like, yes, he's very good at basketball, and I'm not saying he's not good, but what I'm saying is I look at a guy like Curry, and, like, yeah, he's the greatest shooter of all time. I look at a guy like Carmelo, and, yeah, he has, like, a big body and shit, but he's he's an all-time great player because he's skilled. He has that footwork. He has that shooting touch. He has, like, the touch in the lane, just, like, so much shit. And when I see guys like Giannis, when I see guys like LeBron, even to a lesser extent, because like LeBron, I think obviously has more skills than Giannis, but I just like I'm not impressed when like I see a guy just use his body and dunk over somebody. Like, cool, it's cool to watch and shit, but just curious to get your opinion on that.
Totally agree. That's. I mean, you hoop or regularly or you just
I
pretty
do.
much.
I have a foot problem right now, so I'm a little bit hobbled, but yeah, I play.
But you've had some experience just hooping in general, and you love the game. So I think from that perspective, like let's just say from a fan perspective, like just not just being a Carmelo fan, but just being a fan of just basketball or just a player, just loving the game in general. That's an adequate point because at the end of the day, a lot of people will look at, let's just say Giannis and see his points and they'll say like, dang, he's great or whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't understand how much work he had to really put in. He always had great length, but at the end of the day, like he had to still put in so much work, especially to get his body stronger. They had this one video where he was like doing some glute bridges with the bar and some weight on the ends of it. And it was, I think, only like at 35 or 45 on each side. But then now, he's at like 4 or 5 plates, so that's crazy amount of work. But that's to be stronger, to jump higher.
Right.
But when you look at Melo and you see the skill, like he didn't have to be at his weight. Like he could be a lot skinnier. Like when he came into the league, like he was fast.
Yeah.
That man was jumping high. He had a couple dunks on people. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that one steal he got on Denver. Yeah, dunked on that man. I was like, oh my goodness. So he definitely had the skill work. He didn't really have to lift it. He didn't want to, but in general, every athlete wants to get that strength and that strength conditioning, just obviously on court conditioning. So that's for basketball players. We're not built like football players, but not every athlete is built like a football player. So from his standpoint, I mean, just like you said, skill work, it's like a gift in a sense. Like some of these guys just have a gift. Yeah. Even if let's say Kobe watched Michael Jordan, pound for pound, like just everything he did, at the end of the day, for him to actually replicate a whole bunch of those moves and nobody else is doing that, bro, like that speaks volumes. Like it's not just like, oh, well, yeah, he copied all his moves, like, but you got to understand the efficiency that you have to be able to do these moves and actually score well and be one of the top 10 scorers of all time. That is something different. And so for Melo to put the ball in the hoop and actually make so many shots and still be what is he, like top 15 right now?
I think he's 18 now.
Okay, top 18, but like still, it's like that's crazy. Like you have to realize, like this man has got buckets on every single person. Virtually every single person that's tried to guard him. And so you're absolutely correct. You got to have that skill separation rather than just, doing a freaking 20 feet Euro step.
Exactly.
No disrespect for Giannis. That's amazing. Right. He's starting to develop that jump shot, but Melo Ben had that, bruh. Like, don't forget.
So we're going to do a little segment here called Overrated, Rated, or Underrated. This is the first time we're doing this, so we'll see how it works out. And, we're going to name a player or a team, and you tell us if they're overrated, rated, or underrated. Whatever your opinion. Completely up to you. So first, we're going to go with New York Knicks Carmelo Anthony.
Underrated.
Why?
And I'm not saying it as a fan, but underrated, I mean, first of all, just with was that the first time he actually had two arm sleeves?
It might have been.
I feel like it was, but like as a hooper, like when you put on an arm sleeve, it just feels like you're about to make every shot.
It might have been the first time, yeah.
Bro, like when he did that, it was like, okay, he got the 2 sleeves on, the headband, it's a wrap. Like I don't know what it was, but also I played with him on 2K. Oh. Now I used to lose against my buddy Brian, but bro, I had 50 points to 60 points
Every
every
game,
single game.
right?
Every single game,
Every
bro.
fucking
Like
game.
2K13, he's
Yes,
unstoppable.
that's the best fucking 2K. Yo.
Bro, that's what I'm saying.
That's the
Nobody
best
knows that.
2K.
Bro, he was like, oh my gosh, you can barely miss a shot with him if you
Yep.
play with him right. So just from all of that saying, like if the 2K creators knew how great he was and how underrated he was, I mean, he just nobody was guarding him. He had so much fun
Yep.
when he was there, and he had Amari. You know, it was a solid team. So
Yep.
just for him just to be in New York and that whole feeling, I think definitely underrated. All his moves, and when he played against Chicago,
Easter.
I don't know if it was the playoffs or not, but
Easter.
I mean, yeah, bro, that was, oh my gosh, I almost tore my meniscus jumping off the couch.
Wait, you're not for real, are you?
Huh?
Are you for real?
No.
Oh,
I was just
shit.
kidding.
Yo, that was about to be the breaking fucking news of the day right there.
No. Like just jumping off the couch, like, oh,
That shit was insane.
nah, bro, yeah.
Alright, so Nick Melo underrated. Another one, James Harden.
So wait, we got an underrated and we got an overrated, and do we have anything in the middle?
Rated.
I think he's rated. Yeah, he's definitely rated. Like his efficiency is ridiculous. On nights where he's really on, nobody's scoring like he is on a consistent level. No one draws fouls like he does. So people want to complain about how many free throws he's getting. It is ridiculous because scores back in the day wasn't getting as many free throws like this. But at the end of the day, he's still being smart. He's playing to the rules, and so I mean, he's rated exactly what he is.
Right.
So
Rated. Another one, Kyrie Irving.
Well, okay. Well, my question back before I answer this question:
Yeah.
What technically is he rated right now?
I think people look at Kyrie as. That's kind of tough now that you ask me that, because I feel like he obviously has so much respect, but I feel like lately people have been like slandering his name a lot. So let's just go with, people look at him as an all-time great player, but over the past 2-3 years, people look at him as like, someone who can't mesh well with their teammates and is a diva and shit like that.
Yeah, so I would say rated because it's not really clear like what he's doing when he's on his teams as far as personality and like leadership and all of that. So it is kind of tough, to even really protect. Like I said, say if you were a Kyrie Irving fan, which I am, I took a lot of his moves, but I'm more of like a player fan, like what he does as far as what his game is. So I think he's rated correctly, and I mean, just to be honest, even from a trainer's perspective and from a player's perspective, I'm both right now. You don't never know what people are going through mentally, physically, and you got to remember these celebrities go through some stuff. People don't believe it, but they go through a lot of things when it comes down to just being in the spotlight and who's controlling that amount of exposure that they're getting, money that they're getting. So if you really pay attention to all that stuff on his shoes, bro, I mean, people always be like, oh yeah, all CNI is like, it's nothing, it means this, and a Hamza sign, this means this, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, no, you have to research that stuff, like what it was before somebody said like, oh, this is what it means. Like, no, that stuff been around for some ages. It's not necessarily the greatest thing. So if he is going through some personality issues, I mean, I could see where it's coming from. He has a lot going on. So I would just kind of look at it that way and say, he's rated where he is for right now, but don't, judge too much, because you don't know what these people go through.
Yeah, I'm a Knicks fan, so I know I'm probably gonna get some shit for this, but I think he's underrated, and I think he's kind of he's misunderstood in a lot of different ways, I feel like. And like you said, nobody has any idea what he's going through, and when he put that whole Instagram story, like that whole essay on his story, like talking about how, basketball, I don't really understand what he was talking about, but he's, like you said, he's going through some shit, and people can't put themselves in his shoe as much as they try to, because they literally have no idea what the fuck he's going through and what it's like to be in his fucking shoes. So, yeah, man, I feel like Kyrie's just been getting so much slander and so much disrespect. And like I said, I'm a
Yeah,
Knicks fan, and he should have been a fucking New York Knicks. So I know people are gonna say shit, but I don't feel like he deserves a lot of the shit that he's getting right now. So I'm
yeah.
gonna go with he's a little bit underrated at this point.
And I mean, to be honest too, he might show something even more as far as like people not to even ever question like his greatness. I guess when KD
Yeah,
gets on the floor, that's gonna be a little crazy. So
yeah,
I mean, just like you said, you don't know what people go through. And you just expect these guys to just kind of use all this hate and turmoil and just you know transfer it up into energy towards what they're doing. But
yep,
they got a lot to deal with. That's a lot. That's
yeah.
tough. What if, bro? What if you looked on Instagram right now and you had thousands of comments, talking trash about you? You got thousands of comments that are cool against you, or cool for you, and
Yeah.
then you got females over here. You got like
And
it's
what
crazy.
people say is, oh, they have millions of dollars, so it doesn't matter. And of course,
No,
like
bro.
having that shit is nice, but at the same time, and it's not even about, oh, I hope everybody likes me and all this shit, like needing, confirmation shit. But it's just like, yo, if you have that many people like saying shit to you, and every time you
Yeah.
fuck up in your job, people are letting you know, like we can't imagine that. So I feel like
Yeah.
people, you know,
These people be taking it super serious. Like, there's
yeah,
people out there who really hate like players just because, like, something that I don't know, Kyle Bucky or something like that. Some news reporter who wrote something about freaking Kyrie and said, "Oh well, Kyrie, he tries to dismantle the team and
yeah,
he
yeah,
like talk trash, talk this and blah blah." And they're reading this article like, "Man, I really hate Kyrie Irving right
yep,
now. I really want to fight him.
yeah,
If I
yeah,
see him on the site, I'm gonna fight him." It's like, bro, you just listening from a reporter that's not even in the locker room
yep,
99% of the time. So how you just gonna take that as like 100% facts?
yeah.
So that's big. You still gotta protect himself. So yeah, you're right, bro.
All right, Robbie. So we're nearing the end of this podcast right now. So we always like to give everyone the opportunity to control the narrative about whatever it is that they want to control the narrative about, whether it's Kobe Bryant or the 2004 Sacramento Kings or gaming chairs, whatever the fuck it is. What's on your mind? What do you kind of want to control the narrative about?
Melo is a hot topic right now. I believe that Melo is top 10 scorer of all time. Like if I'm gonna play 2K, if I'm gonna play in a street pickup game, if I'm just gonna play in a tournament, whatever I need to, probably gonna take like elite Carmelo Anthony, Denver Nuggets Carmelo Anthony, and I'm putting him against anybody. Like, or maybe no, I'm gonna take Olympic Melo, and I'll say he's top 10 scorer of all time. So, hey, you can't say nothing about that. We'll go watch his highlights.
Word. Facts, man. All right, Robbie.
Yep.
Well, thanks for hopping on, man. Taking some time out in the Christmas village over there that you're
Yes,
in.
sir.
Yo, so why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your company and your training and all that?
So my business, sports businesses, called New Generation Athletics. So the main reason why I even started it is because I didn't have the best upbringing with basketball, and I wouldn't even say the best. Like it's like terrible, but
Right,
I
right.
didn't have the traditional route. I had to go through a lot of bumps and a lot of just learning lessons, and it also translated to my life. I'm definitely a believer in God, so just in general, New Generation Athletics basically means that I'm taking athletes and I'm trying to generate something new out of them so they can become a better athlete, um, you know, everywhere. And it's not just about on the court, and it's about on outside the court as well. So whether you're a volleyball player, any sport that you play, you should be able to affect people as an athlete positively, whether through mentorship or just inspiring somebody about your work ethic. So I want to give all these players that I train, basketball training and sports performance training, I want to also instill in them something that tells them like, I got people watching me, not just my parents, but in general, I need to have character, So that's in general like what I do: instill the character, instill skill work, sports performance right now. So it's located in Riverside, California, and Corona, California. And so far as I have the big groups for my little kids of all ages, and then I have private training and small group training. So I just hope to just involve myself with, maybe group homes one day, foster care industry, and, maybe some pros as well to try to get things rolling that people overlook, those kids who are overlooked out there. I want to also just to be able to inspire them and get them involved with the sport because, through sports, your character also comes alive.
Yep.
You learn a lot about yourself because you may not be a pro, you may not be a pro, you may not be, scouted and all of that, but I really believe that you can still learn something about yourself to grow into whatever career that you're going to be in or meet people, that have, networking is really huge. So you may meet people, establish friendships. So, but also, I don't want them to always be like, hey, Coach Rob, wants me to post this or post that. Like, no, I want them to say, Coach Rob really instilled into me, hope and, to really accomplish my aspirations, but also be able to say, okay, whatever he instilled into me also in that character, I'm going to affect other people to be able to do it. So that way, if I die or when I die, it can still be a snowball effect and keep it going. So that's kind of like what you're doing too. You're controlling the narrative. And I'm trying to like help players control the narrative of their life, not just look at these superstars and say, oh, yeah, I want to get all this money and play pro and blah, blah. It's more than that. It's about your character. It's about your family. So that's what I'm basically focusing on right now, and through all of that through training. So
Word, man. Respect. That's dope. That's real admirable. Where can they find you? Instagram, Twitter, website? What do you want?
yeah, you can follow me on Raby. So Raby is spelled Raby, and Hardaway, Hardaway. So I'm the least famous Hardaway that you'll ever find. So far. I tried to contact Anthony Hardaway, so if he see this, you know what I'm saying, we might be cousins, or maybe Tim Hardaway. So yeah, you can follow me on that, and then the New Generation Athletics page. It's New Gen, so GN, and Athletics. So yep, you find me on there.
Word, yo. Go check him out. Good dude, and he's doing a lot of good with the youth and just anybody who wants it. So, again,
Yes,
man,
sir.
appreciate your time, and stay mellow, baby.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, bro.
All right.
Later.